Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Financial Insight Show. I'm your host, Mwelwa Chibesakunda, and today, on the back of a tour I took of the Northwestern Province, I'll be sitting down with Engineer Nathan Kazembe, who's going to tell me a little bit about what it takes to be in mining in Zambia. So stay tuned for all the insights from our discussion. Hi, everyone. So with me is Nathan, Engineer Nathan. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Mwelwa. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Obviously, this interview comes on the back of the wonderful tour I had of Sulawesi and Kalumbila. But for many of our viewers who don't know who Engineer Nathan Kazembe is, are you able to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and, your professional experience and what you're up to these days?
Okay. Let me start from the background. Basically, my name, Nathan Mukulakasuba Kazembe. I'm a mining engineer by profession. I did my mining here locally at University of Zambia, in the School of Mines. Afterwards, I would say from there, that's what academic-wise, I would say I did my mining from here. I did my postgraduate in project management from the Stellenbosch Business School. I did also my postgraduate degree in sustainability from the Swedish Institute. I then went on and did my master's. That was my MBA, also locally from the University of Zambia. And also just luckily when we were together, I got my results so that now I'm a candidate to go and finish off my research for my MSc.
Congratulations for that.
Yes, with
Fantastic, yeah.
School of Mining.
Yeah.
So that's from my academic side. Done some other stuff, I would say, certifications and the rest. But in terms of mining, I've been in the industry for 15 years. In terms of organizations, in my graduate training and attachment at Konkola Copper Mines. From there, I did move to Lusaka, did a stint with a couple of local companies before going to Mopani.
Right.
Mopani is where I did my graduate training as well as my ascendancy until I was able to get into a senior mining engineer role. I was a bit unlucky during the time of the first or second rounds of retrenchment. That must have been on average about 8-9 years ago. I got retrenched. It wasn't a good time, but luckily there was a company that came in, Master Drilling. So Master Drilling, I did join them as a site. I went up to operations manager, and we were in charge of all the raise boring and capital development that was happening within the different mining sites we had in Zambia. I gained a lot of experience in terms of the operations as well as account management, and that's how I was to branch off. And I think after about 3.5 years with Master Drilling, I was able to get an offer. I got a offer from a company at the time. They were calling themselves Marine and Turbine Units, Machine and Turbine Units, and I really didn't know what they were about. But I could see that in terms of my career, it was more of how can I say, an oversight and a managerial role. And from there, basically, I came to realize that they were actually Rolls-Royce. So that's how I've joined them, and I've been with them for the past, I would say, 5 years. And it's been a good journey.
Wow.
I'm currently the country managing director, and basically we do have the various sites which we were able to visit last week. Apart from them, the various ones I do handle Zambia, and we do have partners in Congo and around, and it was quite a good visit.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. No, Nathan, thanks a lot for for that background, and for us, the Financial Insight. Obviously, the thing that made us very curious about your profile is the sort of experience and the different entities that you've actually worked with. Now, for many of our followers, I think they'll be very keen to actually understand what it takes, to develop a mine. So, are you able to just give us a snapshot of some of the stages of what it takes to actually develop a mine? Because I think sometimes there's a bit of confusion as to whether something is a survey or something's actually a mine, etc. Are you able to shed some light on that?
Okay. Basically, just to give you a quick summary, it is that basically you have to start with the exploration target. When you start with the exploration target, you identify that there could be an occurrence of a resource of value. So from the exploration target, basically you have the reporting of the results, exploration results. And from there, basically you look at you're going to find, how can I say, confidence that there is minerals. So from there, basically, you're starting your drilling. After your exploration result we start the drilling and verification. So on this end, I would say we keep it on the left side. We're looking for the resource and defining the resource. So from the resource, you have inferred resources. Afterwards, you go to the different levels of, how can I say, confidence. So from there, you're going to go to obviously indicated, then you go to measured. So now we've measured it, you know what I'm saying? There's a specific resource, whether it's copper, manganese, or whatever you're looking at. Then from there, to go move to the right side, which is actually, I call it the RPEE. That's reasonable prospect for economic extraction. That's when you do modifying factors as, okay, this resource we found, whether it's copper, ABCD, how do we actually economically remove it? So that's where basically you're going to get all these technical people to come in, economists, financial, the metallurgists, to design your mine and plant where you want to go. And when you get the, how can I say, the financial go-ahead that, you know, this is actually a viable project, obviously that resource becomes a reserve. And there are obviously two types, you know what I'm saying, probable and proved. So basically it's proved, now you can run up, and obviously that's when you start up from the initial mining production, obviously from the ramp up to the shutdown of the mine. So I think that gives you
that's the whole reason why there's two types of licenses. There's the one where you're doing the exploration and prospect, and then the actual mining license. Now that's very, very interesting. Now before I would like us to obviously talk about the importance of safety, because that's what was one of the biggest things that I picked up. How important is safety in mining, and from your experience, how has it impacted how does it impact the mining business overall?
I would say it is one of the key pillars. Apart from the economic extraction, it's based on safety. You want to safely extract these minerals. So if you've been to the mines, even starting from the gate, the induction process is to inculcate a level of safety, because that is the whole issue. Because we've got different people working on the mindsets, you have the human factor. And obviously our legislation in terms of mining, safety, health, environmental is mostly based on the safe economic extract of these materials. So when you see even from the Environmental Zema Act, it's the Safety Act, it's mining, how can you safely extract these minerals, and even the mining legislation and the Explosives Act is about the safe handling of explosives or the mining activities in that. So it's based on that, because as you can see, depending on the records that you follow, you would be able to see that we have progressed as a country in terms of most of the mortalities or the accidents, and the safety culture allows us to proceed with the mining, because when any accident happens, you stop operations, and that will also mess up your cash flows. You don't want to have your mine closed for 3-4 weeks because you've polluted something or someone has lost a limb or a life, So you have to make sure, it's basically risk management, to make sure you are doing this in the right way so that your operations are not affected. And it's a win-win, sustainable mining, as well as making sure that you're also bringing a benefit to the communities you're operating in.
Right. Now, how has your experience shown the importance of local content participation in the mining industry? And can you share specific instances where it has significantly impacted, projects that you've encountered?
This is a tricky question when you look at local content, because I'm coming from a background of an international OEM, and obviously we have different Zambians who would love to go into this space. So when we say local content, and it's obviously the value derived from the mining operations. So there are two angles you can look at it. Are we in the supply chain of the mining, because whatever services are required, are Zambians getting a majority of this? But secondly, I think it's the knock-on effects of mining. So when we look at from that aspect, from the first part, the supply chain, you would find that whether the cost drivers, you have to look at the C1 and C3 costs that run the mine. Like you said, what's the mine? Is open pit, drilling, blasting, removal of this, moving it to the plant, everything else. So you see, in terms of manpower, yes, we're in that. But in terms of supply, obviously you'd want a bigger chunk of that.
Correct.
Your fuel.
Yes.
It depends, yes.
Exactly.
So from that. So basically this is where you can find opportunities that where can the Zambian people be able to get into that. So it's something we need to drive. As a mining engineer, it's one of those things that I'd love to go to sites and see more Zambian local contractors obviously performing, because it goes both sides. You would want a Zambian contractor to be on your site, do all the drilling and blasting, but also you have to see in terms of how you set up your model, because it's also about availability and performance. We as Zambians, when we get into the mines and we're doing these jobs, we need to perform. Otherwise, the mine will turn towards owner base, because they also have to report their shareholders. So we have to have a balance. Make sure that if we're in these lines, we're performing. It also goes down the stream in terms of process. We've been doing mining in excess of 70, 80 plus years in Zambia.
Correct.
What value are we getting down the stream and getting the inputs? The power is supplied. I'm assuming most of it's localized Zambian power. I mean, that's electrical requirements. But you also want to see that all the requirements in that, are we developing, how can I say, industries around that? And that's what I'm saying, that when you do that, you have to look at, do we have sufficient demand? Because it's very easy to say, you want to put up a factory for split sets, but we have the throughput. And looking at, we've got 4 or 5 functioning underground mines. It's like, yes, it actually makes sense for us to cold roll the steel and be able to bring the split sets. Look at explosives. We do have a local supplier. Always say Kafironda, AEL. That's a local listed thing. So basically, we do have some of these actual producers supplying into the mine side, but obviously we want more. And sometimes people always look at the Congo model that, for them to go in, we must have a specific amount of ownership. It's also not just about saying we need to also make sure that we have the capacity to add value. It's very easy to say I've got 51% of one mining company, but I'm also a briefcase businessman. I want you, when you get 51%, open offices, have an admin, have a warehouse, because that's where you have the knock-on effect. But what people sometimes mix it with, we just want 51% of the money.
Correct.
It's sort of, I'd gain 51% of the responsibility, which is a requirement to make sure there's also value added. On the outward side, you also saw that there's so much opportunity, because some people believe it's just supplying in the mine. No, you saw that. We want, forgive the term, we'd like to have equivalent of a Protea hotel between Mwelwa and Kalumbila. You'd want to see schools being built up, because once we start adding value on the communities around the mine, we'll stop having these, how can I say, weekend workers. People go to work on Monday to Friday, go back to weekends back to Ndola, Kitwe, Lusaka. We want a situation as when I get a job at any of the sites, whether in Solwezi, Kalumbila, and Lumwana, I can go out, there's a shopping market. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, supermarket. I can also see a cinema. I'm seeing, the hotel. So I think that's where people are seeing the opportunity. If we have a chance, maybe try and bring him onto the interview. Anthony Mlenga, the country manager for Lumwana, he is trying to put up a economic zone, where apart from the zone, there's knock-on services. He wants to make sure that his mine also adds value to the community surrounding. You've seen what FQM has done in Kalumbila. That whole town is surrounding that, but we need to come in and make sure there's life. Forgive the term, we went, and that was the first time after 5 years I saw a nightclub with blue lights.
There you go.
But it tells you that there's so many things we can add on and add value to, and make sure people are not just passing through that town, but actually add value to the community as they live. And like you said, we did pass through the Northwest Chamber, and they said, let's not just focus on the mining. There's agriculture. Those communities need food. There is education, like you said, we need colleges, we need nursery schools for the young children who are coming up. We need colleges, because colleges add value to the community. So I think those are some of the things that we need to look into. Just all of us just, like you said, Northwest was saying that all of us want to supply a contract, but doesn't want to supply the supplier, which we need to go into, yes.
Absolutely. Now, a final question, it's a bit of a loaded one. When it comes to supply chain management and human capital management, how important are these two facets in ensuring that you have a successful mining operation?
I'll look on the mining side. I've been on both sides of the boat, where as the mine, you need to have your critical stock and obviously specific stock levels. We did go through some of the warehouses of our clients, and you could see on the board. One of them was sitting on an excess of 100 million stock that wasn't moving. And you can imagine from, as a business perspective, you don't want to sit with an excess, if you see of those 4 mines, $400 million worth of stock that's not moving. This has to turn, this has to go in. But from the outer side, as a supply person, if I supply you with 5 or 10 filters, you'd want continuous business, you know what I'm saying? So they have to find, how can I say, a point of, this is what the mine needs, this is what you have, and you both have good stock levels to ensure that everyone is winning. Because now it's the situation of the mine now says, I'm not taking in any more orders until I deplete my stock. You as a preneur, like I supplied once, there's no orders for the past 7 months. So we have to find a synergy in that. And secondly, we're looking on the supply. What can we also add value? Because sometimes people have this undertaking that the client just wants, what are we adding value? You'd like to go and see your client and say, you know what, I have this product, but I can give you a second product that can actually bring value. It's cheaper priced, or it looks for a cheaper price, but actually can solve a problem. So when we engage the mine, let's look for more of solutions Sometimes it breaks the barrier. No, you may bring a solution that knocks out me as a supplier,
Right.
but
Right.
the mine is also getting on that point. But also on the Zambian side in supply chain management, let's see if we can develop capacity. I think you heard of last week. Everyone was at Electra, everything
Yes.
else. I remember I have interacted with some people who have come back, and they need to know that when we get these agencies in Zambia, we need to actually develop and add value. And like I said, we need to move away from the briefcase to people who actually set up things, systems where it's the sustainable systems.
Right.
We cannot continuously just supply at the mine gate and run away. The mine, I think, I had a chance, and I've worked for Mopani. Mopani would actually go premises to premises, verify you've got a warehouse, verify that you've got staff, and the value you're adding. So it kind of changes that. Now we go on the human capital side. It's a very touchy issue. I've had a chance, and even through my interaction with you, I met you more than 7-8 years back on the Africa list. And in terms of developing capacity of local people, it has been there. Go around the world. We have the best mining engineers. I could challenge anyone. We've been to all the best universities, whether from UK, Australia, America. But it's about retaining that human capital. Obviously, it's the money. It's the issue of money and opportunities. But I would say in terms of Zambian ability, we do have it. It's just our ability to retain that. But also we as employers or I can say mining engineers in the sector also have to find value within ourselves. Say, why are we in the country? Why haven't we gone out? And it's a challenge, so we have to find a balance. But in terms of maintaining the people we have, it's quite a challenge. I will not even lie to you. We're losing a lot of our qualified staff to Australia, Canada, and everything else. We've become a pulling ground. Zambians have got very good expertise. They're very hardworking. And our aim is to obviously see that, this person going to out of this country, what can develop? And this goes back to these value adds we're adding around the zones. If someone can have medical services, education, a good level of life, it's not about sometimes money, it's just the standard of life within the surrounding communities, he won't go back. He won't go and look for work in Australia because he's getting that back here. Then afterwards, in terms of, I would say, our own in-house trainings that we need to do is that as a professional, you need to continuously upgrade yourself.
Right.
Sometimes your friends will challenge it. Why are you going back to school? Why are you... What we learned 15 years ago is not the same. You find that now everyone's talking about ESG, sustainability, emotional intelligence. There's so many terms. You won't even sleep at night if you continuously do that.
Acronym,
But you have to be ahead of the curve.
Right.
Even when you go to the mine, there's mine-specific training because they're no longer, back in the days, we used to use, sometimes people used to use matches. Now you used to use a long cable. Now it's digital. People can be another part of the mine. So things are changing. There are so many, how can I say, OEMs that are in the country as well as I think who are doing new stuff. You should go to the mines. It's exceptional. You'd even be like, wow, this is something I didn't learn in my books. But as it is, we just have to have that mindset of continuously learning and improving ourselves so we can stay ahead of the curve. And like we said, people need to know that there is value in mining. I'd like to encourage more people. Go to the schools of mine, whether at Corporate University or University of Zambia, or wherever you are, even if you're abroad, and say, you know what, there's opportunity for us. But when we come here, make sure we add value and make sure that we protect our industry as well as mining engineers to be here and make sure accounted. Otherwise, the moment we go, the entities will look for someone who's of your standard immediately. So like I said, how come people are coming in from out of the country? It's a give and take. It's a global economy. The way I can go to Australia, the same way an Australian can come here. But obviously, like you said, we want to promote our own local people, and we have to have the pride of our industry and take it over here.
Absolutely. Engineer Nathan, thank you so much for coming to the studio. Yes. This has been a wonderful conversation, but I do know that our viewers would probably want to hear a little bit more, especially once this interview is broadcast. Yeah. But on behalf of Financial Insight, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you so much, Mwelwa, and thank you to everyone for this interview.
Absolutely. Yes. So that has been my conversation with Engineer Nathan Kazembe, who has been in the studio to talk to us about mining. So stay tuned for more insights on the Financial Insight platforms. From me, Mwelwa Chibesakunda, your host. Get to know.